What if you could be whoever you want to be in this world? Like the person you most admire. If you have the opportunity to be that person, who would you be? What if you could do whatever you want to do? I mean, within reason, go wherever you want to go. How would you start? What are the smallest steps you would take? Most times in our life, we tend to look at the bigger pictures, like the giant boulders we need to move to make things happen in a life. Whereas all we need is just little steps, just consistent steps every day. Most times we think we need miracles in our life to change things. But in reality, the truth is just consistently doing small little things every day. As humans, no single person can take what you refuse to give up. Like, it's all on you. It's your choice. It's your decision. Going back to Viktor Frankl again. Viktor Frankl, he was held in Nazi camp during Second World War in Auschwitz, waiting to die, waiting to be put into the gas chambers. He saw all the death and horrible things happening around him. And even at that point, he refuses to break. So, and why was he not breakable amidst all the chaos, danger, death, horrible things? Because he says this, like, the last of the human freedom is the ability to choose. That's like everything could be taken away from you. Everything in this world could be taken away from you, but the ability to choose still remains yours. So you could take everything away from a human, but the power for him to choose is still down to him. Like, to give up, that willingness to give up is still up to him. So that's why this might sound a bit controversial, like, but for me, that's why I believe, like, regardless of where we've come from, regardless of what we're doing, regardless of where we're going, our ability to choose if we're going to choose failure or we're going to pursue success, it's totally up to us. Like, nothing else stops us from that. We might fail, we might try multiple times, but the ability to stop, it's yours. Even Einstein says it. It's not actually about failure, but the decision to quit, it's yours. Not about the obstacle, not about the challenges, not about anything but you. Not even the world we live in has the power to take your choice, your decision away from you. That totally is up to you. Especially in this world where it's not about speaking the truth, it's about speaking what's acceptable, saying what's acceptable. Most people lose a lot of things, job, career, everything, just by saying what they feel. It might be the truth, but once it's not accepted by the gatekeepers, then you deny the role, you deny the job, you lose opportunities, you lose everything just for saying what you believe in. So most times there is that freedom in us, regardless of what we think. The freedom in you to choose, the freedom to choose, like, look, I might have come from the worst place, I might have had no opportunity, my parents are uneducated, I've lived in the slum for most of my life, but that person out there, I admire that person and I want to be like that person. The ability to start walking towards that is totally up to you. Just like Viktor Frankl did in Auschwitz, there are a lot of people dying around him, but the ability to choose and say, look, you can kill me, but my decision to accept what you're saying, it's totally my power and I'm not going to give that up. So like I say a lot of time, I grew up like poor, very humble beginning, in a lot of places with chaos, drunkards all around, but the ability to choose, like, I want to be better than this, I want to get out of this chaos, I see myself better than this, looking up to people who I think, oh, if they could do it, I could do it. That was my ability. That was my choice. That was my decision. Now, I'm not saying other people around me gave up easily or whatever. They had their reasons for whatever they did, but the ability to choose, it's down to you, nothing else. It's your own decision. Listen, right where you are, you've got everything you would ever need to start. And what is that? The power of thinking. The power of thinking. Jordan Peterson was saying the other day, like most people go to universities just to learn how to get a job. Like universities is actually not teaching people like the reason why you have to read and write and being able to speak it so you could have the power to pass your point across, the power to argue your point, the power to lead people. So it's actually not just about teaching people to sit a course, pass exam, memorize something, put it back on the paper so you could have a job. The actual reason of having institutions is to prepare people to become a leader. And how do you become a leader? By understanding how to write, how to read, and most importantly, how to think. How to think. Because I kept on going back to this book. Like the best book I've read for myself is the little book 200 pages by James Allen. And it says, as a man thinketh. It's like nothing else, not what you see, not what you do, but the way you think defines you. Because everything we do starts with the ability to think. If you think you're a failure, there's no way you're going to perform more than that. So there's a saying that you can never perform more than how you see yourself. So the burden, the way, it's actually not about how other people see you, but how you see yourself. Of course, it's nice to be admired, it's nice to be appreciated, it's nice to be celebrated, but you would never become more than the way you see yourself. And that's why there's so many people maybe out there too scared of asking a girl out for dinner or getting her number, they make so many excuses. That's because that might be okay, they face rejection in the past and they're so scared of trying again. But now they have put themselves in a place of insufficient. They've seen themselves smaller than they are. For some reason or the other, they were rejected. Now they've built a bubble around them that they're not good enough. And because they've seen themselves as not good enough, there's no way the world is going to see you as good enough. That's because the most important person to speak to is yourself, that voice in your head. Because when the whole crowd is gone home, when the stadium is quieted, you're left on your own with your voice, with your inner voice. That is the person you go to. So you can never rise above the ceiling you place for yourself. Because why? The decision lies with you. The decision always lies with you. So that ability, the ability to be your own coach, your own manager, your own mentor, your own ruler, your own supervisor, spectator, sparring partner, adversary, that power lies with you. No other person. That power lies with you. You have the ability to change your world. And why am I saying it? From wherever you come from, be it the worst place in the world, there's people who have made it out. They have nothing more than just the same thing as you. Probably maybe worse situation, but they've made it out. Why? You might call them luck or whatever, but they made it out because they determined they had that ability to think, and that's all you need. Ability to see yourself more than you are today. Ability to see yourself more than you are today. And how does that come from? Sacrifice. Sacrificing today for tomorrow. And that comes from reading, writing, studying, listening to something that would help you grow. There's so many people these days who spend, I'm not against video games and consuming reality TVs and all sorts and watching comedies and passing time. I'm not against that. Each to their own. But there are so many people today who spend most time consuming a lot of things than they actually have the capacity to think. Most people are so scared of being with themselves. They rather do whatever it takes rather than having to spend half an hour with themselves and just think. And as a man thinking, if you're not even thinking, how can you grow? How can you become something? How can you advance? How can you put together a plan? This thing's been going around my head for a while. Like, I don't know when I stumbled against it's like quite recently, but I've never looked at it that way. They say nothing positive comes or happens randomly, or nothing good happens randomly. Like, you might call some people lucky, chance, or whatever, but very few things happens to people randomly, without plan, without thinking, without strategizing. But bad things, on the other hand, happens to a lot of people randomly, like sickness, whatever, accident. A lot of random things happens. But when it comes to good things, they need a lot of planning. They need a lot of strategy. They need a lot of work. And that's why you should think. That's why you should plan. That's why you should strategize. That's why you should try and at least associate with people who would help you, push you in that direction. Because sometimes it might be difficult to start on your own, but we all need a helping hand in something. You can't all be good in everything. If not, every single person that's good at football, good at basketball, would know. We're all specialists. We're all kind of specializing in a field. And so you might be very good at this, but not good at that. So you need a bit of support, a bit of like coaching, a bit of mentoring. That's why most time when you start something, you're a rookie in that field. You're a learner. You're stumbling your way around till you get to understand better. Just like I do in everything. Why? Because I'm willing to become the beginner. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to put myself out. Because for me, I don't see life other than me trying to break new ground, other than me trying to learn new things. I have more pressure to keep things in me than to put it out there. So that's me, but that might not be another person. So we all break new ground every time we try and learn, every time we try and grow, every time we go outside our comfort zone. That's when we grow. That's when we discover our new self. Emerson says, for you trying to, become yourself in a world that has put like a barrier on you, and this is what accepted you must not. That is, there's a quote attributed to Henry David Thoreau. Thoreau, if I'm saying that right, Thoreau. He says, thinking, and this goes back to that thing I always say, thinking. And maybe because I'm a thinking person, maybe not, but everything I've kind of stumbled across or worked my way across or planned across within the last year is always been about thinking. Every successful person in any field I know about, everything they talk about is thinking. So I always focusing about thinking these days, planning. And sometimes when I walk around, I tend to just spend time and observe people and thinking, are they just doing something randomly, or this is something they've planned and they just trying to see it manifest, or they're working towards it? And most time I've discovered, like, honestly, very few things happen randomly. Everything needs a sort of strategy, a sort of planning. And the most important thing is thinking for yourself. There's nothing more than that. Thinking for yourself, seeing yourself as the person you would want to be, as that person you admire. Thoreau says, think for yourself. That's the first point. Think for yourself. Have a time with yourself. Have a sit down with yourself. Or others would think for you. Meaning you become a tool in other people's toolbox. And when other people think for you, they are not thinking like for you as in how would things work out for you? They would think for you without thinking about you. So ask yourself, who have I allowed to be thinking for me? Like up to this point, up to this present day, who have I forgone my thinking to? Because they say when you forgo your thinking, you forgo your future. As human, we're selfish to think for ourselves before other people. And if we have the opportunity to think for other people, we always think how they fit into our plans. It's human. Like we've known this from the beginning of times. Human, like there's good. They say there's a very thin line between good and bad, and in every human you have that thin line of good and bad. And that's why another human will take advantage of another person and go home and be nice to their own family. So within every human, there's the ability to be bad and good. You exploit other people, but you're nice to your family. The ability to love and hate. The ability to have sympathy and vengeance. In every human, in every single person, there's that two spirits, or whatever you want to call it. The ability to turn left or right. The ability to go or not go. The ability to do or not do. And that's what separates us. The ability to do. Some people would just go for it. They go into it before the mind understand and say no. They're halfway through there. Because in them that ability is just go. And some people will hide and keep hiding and making different excuses because they never want to fail. They never want to come face to face with the ability to say no, I have failed multiple times. So think for yourself, or others will think for you. You see, everything we do in life is a choice. Is either you've made that choice on your own, or you're forced to make that choice by circumstance, situations, people around you. Sometimes we'll make a decision that we think is the best because we know no better, and then we'll walk the first 100 miles, we could see a clearer picture, and then we'll make a totally different picture, totally different decision, a U-turn. Why? Because now we become more experienced. We could walk clearer, we could see clearer, we have more experience. 100-mile experience is better than 0 miles experience. So the decision you made 200 miles behind, it's not the decision you're making now. I experience this when I go for a run. When I start off every run, the first 5-10 minutes is like the most difficult. It's like the most difficult. I want to stop immediately. Like my body is saying, go. My mind is like, no, you can't do this. No, just stop, just walk, just quit, just go home. Like that's the most difficult. And then I go the extra 10 minutes, then I feel like okay, you can do this, keep pushing. The half an hour into it, I'm feeling, oh yeah, I'm feeling good now. I'm pushing harder, I'm pushing. And then the last hour or 2 hours, my body's screaming again, you gotta stop. This is too much, man. Why are you doing this? Or for how long are you gonna do this? And then 2 hours into it, I'm feeling like, man, I'm so strong now, I could go for another hour. That is every decision, every step you take, it's attached to a decision. Why? Because it's attached to experience. Is it that your mind is saying you stop and your body's like, come on, we just started? Or your body's like, oh, I can't even do it again. Your mind is like, let's go. So, but some people are so scared of taking that first 100 miles. They're stuck at the bottom of the mountain. They never experience the view. They never know what it's like even trying to climb. So imagine going through life, never actually experiencing what it feels like to have a goal, to face something and either win, or if you defeated, at least have the opportunity to try again. Imagine what it feels like if you handed a trophy every single time you just participated. I mean, there's a lot of that around now. People get, trophies for participation. But imagine having that feeling like you could never lose. You don't have the ability to lose. How would winning feel? So sometimes we have to put ourselves under that pressure, because when you come out on the other side, the feeling, it's more than anything you ever experienced. That's why we have to go through that narrow hole of where there's a possibility of winning or losing. See, one thing I've tend to see these days is like everyone wants a better outcome in life, but no one really wants to participate in it. See, it's easier to keep feeling sorry for ourselves, the way we look, where we've come from, our humble beginning, our sad story. It's easier for us to just feel the victim every time. It's easy that way than to look at ourselves and say, look, man, I've messed up. To look at ourselves in the face, look at our shortcomings. But if we never get to that place where we could see our shortcomings, where we could see our failures, where we could see things we could have done better, if you never learn from your mistakes, how can you put them right? How can you start building? How can you start working towards something new if you never actually sat yourself down? They say the first point of healing is accepting. It's not like, oh, you've seen all your failures, you accepted them, and now you accept defeat. No, it's to accept that you haven't done enough, that you could have done better, that everything has happened and you're here. And now, okay, I'm here. Where do I go from here? That's the first point of healing in any kind of psychological class or whatever. Acceptance is the first thing, because there's no way you're going to start fighting, trying, if you can never accept where you are first. That's the starting point. Accepting where you are and then starting again. Like you see sportsmen, boxers, when they lose a fight, they say like, okay, yes, I could have done better in that fight. I was just using my jab, I could have just, fought a bit more. I was running around, leaning on the ropes. I could have stood in the middle of the ring, or I was just boxing too much. I could have fought. They analyze it. And that doesn't mean they've accepted defeat and that's it. No, like the next thing you hear from that is, I'm going to go to the drawing board. There's a few things I have to work on. That's because they've accepted their shortcomings and now they're going to improve. And that's how everyone in this world gets better. Like the most successful people in this world, they look at their shortcomings and then they start working on it. They look at things they've done bad and they start improving. They look at how they could improve, how they could get better, and then they work on it. But imagine that person who never looks at the failure, who never analyzes where they've fell short, not actually knowing what they could do to get better. They say most people get better by working more on the strength. They acknowledge their weaknesses, they work on it, but they work more on their strength. Because why? It's your strength that will bring you to the light. It's your strength that you're going to be celebrated for. It's your strength that you're going to be recognized for. But imagine never having the ability to analyze yourself and discover your strength. Just going to be wandering around in the dark, feeling around, going around in circles. Every story needs a hero. Every story needs a hero, because everyone should be the hero in their own movie. And I'm just asking you this: who is playing the hero in your own movie, in your own life, in your own story? Are you being an extra in your own movie, or are you the hero? Every accomplishment comes through responsibility, but we're so scared of responsibility. That's the last thing we want to take. Why? Because we're so scared of criticism. We're so scared of what people are going to say. People who don't know, people who know, people that doesn't matter to us, people who matters to us. Forgetting opinion are like the most cheapest commodity on the planet. Everyone gives them. Check any social media these days. There's like thousands of people giving a thumbs up or thumbs down to something someone says, something someone has done. Like opinions are so they're like just your thumbs, so much free to give. And then we worry ourselves about so much. Like, some people can't even sleep based on what other people have said about them, what people are going to say about them, the judgment people are going to make. Some people can't even express themselves just because of they don't want to clap back. Opinion are the most cheapest commodity on the planet. So why do you let it hold you back? Why do you let it keep you in that same spot? Why would you never do something because what people are going to say? Why? Why would you let someone else be the hero in your own movie? Why would you be holding the jacket to someone in your own movie? We keep on waiting till everyone approves of us. Like, if no one approves of you, you would do nothing. Why? Because you want approval, you want celebration, you want. Then, whose life are you actually living? Everyone you ever admired, everyone you ever celebrated, even everyone you hated, they took some sort of action in some shape or form. Either you like it or you dislike it, they took some kind of action, and that action stood them out. That action separated them from the norms, from the 99%. That action made them who they are. Simple. They took an action. They got to a fork in the road and they picked the direction and went for it. Regardless of what other people say, regardless of what other people did, regardless of other people's opinion, they did what was in them. So I'm asking you, do you have anything in you that's keeping you awake? Do you have anything in you this making you so uncomfortable that you would want to put it out there, you want to do, you want to start, but you're so scared of what people are going to say? Because I bet you 5 years from now, you will regret that. They say we regret most that thing we never did. Most things we do, we'll forget to apologize for it. But those things we never did, those things we never said, those actions we never took are the biggest regret we always have. Why? Because they are the thing that keeps us awake. And why? Because they live in our heads rent free. They will always be there. You can imagine being in a room just with yourself and being scared to actually look in the mirror, because then you're going to look into your eyes, and then through your eyes you're going to look into your soul, and then you're going to say to yourself, wow, not only am I a failure, but then I'm a coward. And you know what they say about cowards die 1,000 times, but war hero only die once. Because why does a coward die 100 times? Because every time you fail to take an action, every time you fail to speak up, every time you face to do that thing which you know has been keeping you awake all night, you die gradually, and every day you wake up and you say to yourself, no, tomorrow I'm gonna do more, tomorrow I'm gonna stand, tomorrow I'm just gonna speak, tomorrow I'm gonna let my feelings be heard. And tomorrow again you do the same thing. You hold yourself back, you cage yourself, and then you go back home and you repeat the same thing. So every day you're killing yourself gradually, and every day you're killing yourself gradually. So you might as well live 100 years, but what a life to live. Like a life like you sheltered, you put in the corner, you covered by clothes, and you fed. Is that living a life or just existing? That's why don't be a coward that dies 1,000 times. Be that hero that do or does whatever you believe is keeping you awake. That thing that separates you. That thing people said it wouldn't work. That thing they said, like, no, come on, man, this is not what people from your class did. Who are you to write a book? Who are you to speak? Who are you to start the YouTube channel? Who are you to trying to go to university? Who are you to read? Who are you to write? Who are you? That is just an opinion. You would always have those opinions coming your way, but the you who you know is bigger than all that, because the you who will be celebrated is the you who went after that thing that kept you awake, not the you who listened to other people's opinion and you kept hiding under the bed just to please people. It's just sure, life is hard. Life is hard. There's no saying, there's no two ways about it. Like, life is so easy. No, life is hard. Everyone, no two persons, like even brothers, have exactly the same experience. So life is hard. Not everyone has the same opportunity or is going to start from the same platform. Like, I was listening to a clip from Sylvester Stallone the other day, and he's saying life will knock you down. That's the only thing that would hit you, knock you down harder than every other person will hit you, harder than what other people are going to say to you is life. Life is going to knock you down, hit you down, smack you down again and again and again. Especially when you're starting out new, venturing into a new field, especially an unknown field, like a field like no one in your life or no one in your family, in your neighborhood, in your area has ever ventured into before. Amen. You take a beating. You take a beating. I experienced this in different levels. You take some days I'm like, wow, do I actually need to get up and go and do this again? Like you would take some beatings. You would take some beatings. That's what life is going to throw at you. Life is going to keep knocking you down, but the ability to keep standing up time and time again, going after it and saying, no, I will never refuse. That place I'm coming from, I face more challenges than any other opinion could hear. The place I'm coming from is harder than what you people can say. The place I'm coming from is more dangerous than whatever you guys are throwing around here. You could knock me down 1,000 times, I will stand up 1,001 times. That's just the attitude to have in life. Because to go through life thinking life wouldn't knock you down, everything is going to work in your way, I'm sorry. That's far from the truth. Just like they say, nothing happens or nothing good happens randomly. But the horrible things that comes people's way, very random. When you think you've just climbed out of the crab basket, now you want to dust yourself up and move on, something that's just going to drag you down, pull you back on, keep you down. So life would hit you harder than any other person, any other thing will hit you. But your ability to say to you, look, I've come into this fight as an underdog. Yes, that's what accepting is. Like, look, I've come into this fight as an underdog. I've already accepted defeat from where I've come from. So now I'm just shooting constantly, because from where I've come from, I've been beaten so many times, knocked down, lost a lot. But right now, I don't care who I fight. Anyone who gets in my way, I'm hitting them out, I'm kicking them out, I'm bullying them out. Why? That's because you've accepted that, look, you might lose some fight, but you stand up and keep fighting till you see the end. Like, the end is where you have to go. No matter how high that mountain is, you would keep climbing. You would never stop until you can plant your flag on that mountain and say, here I am. That is the attitude. That's the attitude that separates the winners from the losers, the quitters from the committed, continual, courageous people. What is courage? Courage is a decision. The ability to say, look, I'm not going to give in. I'm not going to stop. Whatever you throw at me, I'm going to keep bouncing back up. To have that bounce back effect, or it's like a rubber lane effect. Like when I was a kid, I played this game, like you have like, the rubber band, you spring it, you shoot it, and how far it goes, I involve a lot. It's like a game, whoever could shoot the furthest will win the game. And sometimes when you put it in like your two thumbs trying to shoot it forward, sometimes mistakenly, it bounces backward and hits you in the face. Very painful. But you have to have that flexible kind of feeling, like you're going to keep bouncing, keep falling, but never breaking. That's the thing. Never breaking. Like you could fall many times, but have the ability to bounce back. That bounce back ability, that's what separates you from the rest. It's like you have all these trees like in the wind. The wind comes and bends them as back as they can, but they spring back up. You have even some tsunami comes, and with all the wind, power, waves, it bends them as back as they can, but they spring back up. That springability, we have to have it in our springability. Ability to bend as far as life could bend you, but never breaking. That's what separates you from the ordinary. That's what separates you from those who are not willing to try. That's what's brought you where you are today, and that's what's going to keep taking you forward to where you're going to go. that spring ability, that ability to push, that ability to not giving in, that ability to not accepting defeat, the ability to say, look, I've lost so many times, what's another competition? That's what separates you from the norm. That's what separates you from those who are not willing to try. I mean, look around you. There are so many cemeteries full of unfulfilled dream. I mean, Les Brown talked about this thing, like when you're lying on your deathbed, and then there's the spirit of uncompleted dreams, around you, and they say, like, we came to you, a lot of dreams, hoping that you will bring us to life, hoping that we're going to flourish with you, hoping that you're going to make us known to the world. But you cowered, you died, you folded your hand, you were too scared to try. Now you're going to die, and we're going to die with you. Don't be that person who dies with your dream. Be that person who tries again and again and again. And when you fail, you stand up and try again. And when the world knocks you down, you say, no, I'm not willing to give in. I'm trying again. Be that person who has that spring ability to bounce back time and time again. Be that person. Don't be the person who is so scared to try. Why? Because of what people are going to say, because how you're going to be perceived, because how you're going to be judged, or because you make excuse for yourself. Your lack of English, you don't have good command of your English, you can't read, you can't write, you can't speak. You can learn all those things. If anyone can learn those things, you can learn those things. If anyone can start something, you can start something. If anyone can become something, you can become something. Why do you think other people have everything? No, it's planned. It's process. It's commitment. They say commitment. What is commitment? Commitment is sacrifice. What is sacrifice? Sacrifice is the ability to forgo every other thing in place of one thing. They call it discipline. You're a footballer, that's a discipline. You're a basketballer, that's a discipline. You're a rapper, that's a discipline. You're a writer, that's a discipline. You're a professor, that's a discipline. You're a politician, that's a discipline. You're a businessman of some sort, that's a discipline. You're a banker, that's a discipline. It's called a discipline because you focus, you sacrifice other field for one field. That's why we can't all be good in everything. So forget it. Once you pick a discipline, go for it. If you're failing, don't worry about it. All your focus should be, how can I get better in this discipline? I don't need to be good at every other thing, 500 things, 1,000 things. I'm picking this one thing and I'm going to ride it till the wheels come off, because this is my discipline and I'm going to stick to it. I don't care what you say. I don't care what every other person says. I don't care how I'm perceived. I don't care how I'm received. I don't care how I'm celebrated. I don't care how I don't care about any other thing but where I'm going, what I'm doing, what I'm saying, how I put my case across. Because for me, it's a bigger burden for me not to do what I'm doing than to do it and fear the consequence. So don't be those who dreams have died with because they're so scared to start. Don't be one of those. Be that person who goes for your dream, who tries, who works for it, who puts himself like this is me, I'm gonna go for it. Regardless of what happens. If I win, I win. If I don't win, I learn from my mistakes, I come back. Many inventors, they failed. Every single time they failed. And most of the things in this world we're enjoying today have come from failures of trying to get to A and they landed at B. So you don't know where you could be. You don't know where you could end up by just having the courage to go out after your plan, after what you believe you could do. You might not land there, but at least you're going to land closer. They say you should shoot for the moon, because if you miss the moon, you're going to land or around, or you're going to hit the stars or kind of land around the stars. But that's better than not trying. What does Wayne Gretzky says? Wayne Gretzky says you lose 100% of the shots you never take. So for every shot you take, if you have the ability, the opportunity of hitting it, even if it's 1 in 100, you have that chance. That is better than no chance. That is better than zero chance. What's commitment? Commitment is just taking one step a day. In a year, 360 steps. Compare that to not taking any steps is zero. 360 versus zero. You could see how the margin. You could see the margin. So everything in us is just the ability to do. And where does that come from? Action. What is that decision? You make the decision to go for it. Go for it. Go for it. Do. Don't rely on what people are going to say, because regardless, no matter what you do, there's always going to be those who hate you for just your face, for who you are, where you start from, where you've come from, what you're doing. There's always going to be those. And I'm amazed some days when I listen to some podcast or some videos from like well-known, respected speakers, and I see some thumbs down, some negative comments. That's because you can't win everything. Even if those people can't win, those people who are so good in what they do, if they can't win at everything, if they can't win everyone over, who are you to think you're going to win everyone over? Then why are you allowing that to stop you? You can never please everyone. And that's actually a dangerous thing to go for, living a life trying to please everyone. That basically is telling you you're doomed for failure. Going through life just trying to be pleaseful to everyone. That is failure just written all over it. You have to be you. You are unique. You are unique. That's what separates you from another person. That fingerprint you have, which is different from the 7 billion people on this planet, that's what makes you unique. So use it. Use your choice. Use your power. Use your ability to be different. Let that different be the thing that makes you, not the thing. Don't be like every other person. You are not every other person. You are special. You are special. There's something you could bring to this world that no other person could bring. And once you forgo that responsibility, once you forgo that power, once you forgo that creativity, it's occupied by something. And most time it's occupied by something more negative, something more horrific, something bad, something that's going to work against every other person. So use it, use it, use it. You are unique. Einstein says everyone is unique. But if we are all judged by our ability, for instance, it says if a fish is judged by the ability to climb a tree, of course, instantly he's judged as a failure, because climbing is for monkeys and other animals, not for fish. Fish is one of the best swimmers in the entire universe. And then if you judge a fish by how good they are at climbing, instantly they are a failure. So what am I saying? I'm saying basically sometimes you're actually a good swimmer, but you're judging yourself on how good you are at climbing. So therefore you recognize you're taken as a failure. Why? Because you are being judged in a different field, in a field that's particular to someone else, not in a field where you are special, not in a field that you dominate, not in a field that you would have been celebrated if you are judged in that field. So most time we judge ourselves in the ability to do something like other people in their own field, the ability to be like another person, the ability that it's nothing to do with us. That's why we are special, but we cannot do everything every other person can do. We are unique. We are special. So don't be like every other person. There are a lot of people who have tried and failed. But at least they've tried and failed and they learned from that. Be those who are too scared to try, who are too scared to start. Like you don't see this every day where people are so scared, like before the first thing that comes out of their mouth is like, don't judge me. It's like excuses. of one thing. I'm not saying life is perfect and rosy for everyone. We are all going through some sort of difficulties. Someone who you think everything is going for them, they're probably suffering cancer. Their wife is dying of cancer, or their child, or something, like their parents, they're drunk, whatever. We all have something in our life that we think would rather not have. So everyone is going through something somehow. So don't put yourself under another pressure by not chasing that thing that's keeping you up at night, because that thing is always going to be there. It's never going to leave you. If you try to hide, to dodge, it's always going to be there. Why? Because that is what makes you special. That's what separates you from other people. That's what keeping you. That's your purpose for being. That is your purpose for being. That is your self or your sense of being. If something is scaring you too much, then that means it has a value. It has a value. If something is keeping you up all night, if it's something you're willing to do, but you can't shake it off, maybe you should consider it. It scares you, of course, that's fine. But how many times have you tried to get it off your head and go back to bed? You can't. Maybe that's where you should be driving. Maybe that's where you should be working on. Maybe you should try and maybe learn more about it, work on it, improve your skills in it. Start small. And don't worry if you criticize, if you judge, if you're told to go away because you're not good enough. Everyone have to start from somewhere, regardless. But the ability to start afresh, the ability to say to yourself, look, I'm going to start from the foot, because while I don't have the experience, I have that skill, I'm new in this field, that separates you from every other person who's not willing to be criticized, who's not willing to be looked at as a trainee, who's not willing to let go of their ego and say, look, I'm out here, I'm starting afresh, I'm willing to learn, teach me all you can. And I tell you, anyone who you go to, they are willing to help, especially when they see you have something or you're working towards something, you are disciplined, they are happy to help. It's human in us to try and help another person. Look, I've never been one to believe that everything that happens was meant to be. Although we all say this to people, when we're trying to console them, I, for one, I'm probably guilty of this as well. When people are going through, disappointment, horrific things, what do you say? Say, of course, it was meant to be, and there's going to be other things, But why is it always when negative things happen that we say this? Of course, it's meant to be this and that. Why not when positive things happen? The simple thing, like for me, the simple thing I feel is because every good thing that happens needs planning. I mean, negative things happens, as we've discovered, randomly. And that's why we always end up saying that thing, like, oh, they meant to happen, because we have no explanation for it. But of course, we want the other person to feel good, but we have no explanation for it. So for good things to happen in your life, you need a plan. You need to put something in place. You need to work towards something. You need a goal. You need a destination. You need a direction. They don't just happen randomly. No, they don't. They need a foresight. Sure, it's difficult to pursue hard things in life, of course. Why? Because you might fail, and we know how painful and resentful a lot of us become when we fail. We want to bring other people down, tear things down, kick against things. We know that. So that pain of losing, the pain of failing, the pain of not succeeding stops a lot of us from trying difficult things. And it's that difficult things that opens new parameter, new paradigm, new discoveries, opens new doors, because then when you conquer something, you become that thing. Jim Rohn says, for you to have something, you have to become something. You can't give what you don't have. So this is about becoming something. But the many people who celebrate today, we follow on different social media platforms, is because they succeeded in pursuing that thing that's difficult and they overcame them. They are the random ones. They are the ones who don't follow the rules. They go against all odds. They are the ones who celebrate. No one celebrates mediocre these days. In fact, the new normal is becoming exceptional these days. So you have to be exceptionally good, exceptionally bad in one way or the other to be celebrated. And we all celebrate this. We can see these thousands of people on social media doing the negative things and they have so much followers. There's other people doing the positive thing. They have followers too. But we always following some people doing something negative or positive. They are taking some sort of action, either rule breaking or whatever they're doing. They are taking action and we idolize them. Why? Because they're doing something out of the ordinary. They're not staying stuck in one place and wishing, hoping, praying. No, they are taking actions, negative or positive, good or bad, love or hate. They are doing something, and for that we celebrate them. So take action, do something, pursue your dream, go after it. Don't get stuck in one place. No, you are more than that. You are more than that. You're not born, put on this planet to just exist, live and die. No. You are born to succeed, to work towards something, to be celebrated, to live a life you deserve. So go after it. Don't be put in the trap. Don't let anything hold you back. You are more than this. You are a person for a reason. You exist for a reason. You are given a name for a reason. You're not just called a person. No. You are identified as an individual, given a name to represent you, to stand out from the 9 billion people. Why? Because you are unique. You are you. You are magnificent. You are important. You contribute. If you leave, that space will be taken up by something more horrific. So that's why go out and be counted. Go out and do something. Go out and be you. Sometimes that's all you need, just being you, just representing your name. That when someone calls you, just like in a class, you stand up and say, yes, that's me. Sometimes that's all you need to do in life to be acknowledged, just being you, nothing else. Of course, sometimes you're gonna win, and most times you are going to lose. I tell you, for everyone's success, there's like 10 failures or more. Most times you're going to lose, but sometimes you will win. And the times you lose, they're not the end of the world. Why? Because you've learned some experience, some invaluable experiences comes through losing. Of course, winning is a great teacher, but losing is the best teacher. Why? Because it tells you what not to do again. So don't become resentful, don't become deceitful, don't become arrogant because you're winning or losing. No. Learn from it. What can you become? What can you do better? Where can you go? Who can you help? What can you contribute to? What's holding you back? Is it your family? Is it your friend? Is it your community? Is it your state? Is it your country? What can you do better? What have you done yesterday that you can improve on today? Who can you take along with you? What doors can you open? For whom can you open with? What can you learn? What have you know? Is it your speaking? Is it your writing? Is it your language? In what area can you improve yourself? Because they say you can only give what you have. If you don't have any of these things, then go and learn a way to work on it. Improve yourself. Jim Rohn says, work more on yourself than you work on your job. That doesn't say you shouldn't work on your job. No, your job pays your salary, or it pays, it feeds, it keeps a roof over your head, it feeds you, it probably pays your children's school fees. But if that's not what you want to do, you want to do something else, keep working on that thing as well. Work on that thing as well. Because why? That thing is what you'll be celebrated for. Not your job. Of course, some people get celebrated for their jobs. I know bankers who earn millions per annum. They celebrated for their job. Why? Because that is them. I know a lot of people who work for other people. They don't have a business of their own or nothing. But why? They are very good in what they do. That's their career. Not everyone will be an entrepreneur. Not everyone will own their own business. Not everyone would become the president. Not everyone will become the chairman. Not everyone will become the governor. But without that structure, without other people being behind them, working towards them, supporting them, leading them towards a new place, a new goal, a new destination, a new country, a new nation, they will never succeed. So everyone has a part to play. No matter where you are on the chain, you have a part to play. You have a part to play. There's no foregoing the last of the human freedom. Your decision, your power to be part of something. There's no foregoing that. You can forego everything, but not that. That should not be taken away from you. That should be your decision. You should say to yourself, what am I happy about? What do I like that's currently happening in my life? Do I want to keep it? What is it I don't like that's happening around me? How do I want to go forward and change this? That should be your decision. No one should be able to sell you anything that you're not buying. Why? Because you can look around. You have eyes, you have ears. You know what's happening. Is it going well? Is it going in the right direction? Do you like where it is? Then keep it. If you don't like where it is, then work for a new beginning, a new start, a new direction. Something that's not only going to work for you, for your friend, for your family, for your country, but it's going to lead to a new beginning for all. And what's the best? What could be the best? What could take up your time more than that? What else have you got to do that's better than that? Working for a new beginning, not just for you, your family, but for all. They say what we do for ourselves dies with us. Whatever you do for yourself dies with you. You have the biggest car, the biggest yacht, the biggest company. Whatever you do for yourself dies with you. But whatever you do for people lives forever. That's why you have people who have legacies, because they've gone out of the way to do something for some other people. So what is your legacy going to be? What are you going to celebrate it for? What are you going to be celebrated for? They say for every 100 soldiers that goes into battle, only nine out of 100 soldiers are actually there to do battle. And out of those 9, 1 is the warrior who controls everything and take back the men. 80 are just there for target practice. 10 of those men should never actually be in the war in the first place. But they have a role to play, because without that 100 men looking like a battalion, 9 men turning up to war would just seem irrelevant. So you have a role to play. You have a role to play. There is a destiny you have, a new change, a new direction. There's something that is there that you can do that no other person can do. Even if you consider yourself nothing, at least you have a vote. That tells you have a voice. That tells you you have right. That tells you you're occupying a space. That tells you you are useful. So don't look down on yourself. Don't put yourself in a basket that nothing can happen, that you can't change anything. That's a lie. That is a lie. There is more to you than you actually know. There's more you can do than you actually think. Why? But the problem is, like, you've been made to believe that you're nothing, you're worthless, you exist for nothing. Why? Because just like Jordan Peterson says in his book, The Theory of Play, that when a child is hungry, every other emotion is suppressed in that child. That a child could never function, which is hungry. All the emotion is suppressed until they eat. So, like a child that wants to play, that was joyful, that wants to do everything, that joyful and playful emotion is suppressed by everything until that child has fulfilled every other emotion. Then they can play. And same like an adult, when you are hungry, when you've been put in hunger, when you've been put in poverty, every man you lose the ability to think properly until you are fed. And that's why it's easy for someone to bribe, pay some people off with just a cup of food, a bag of food, a plate of food. Why? Because they've been put in a place where they've lost the ability to think. And as James Allen says, as a man thinketh, so he is. So for you to be in a place where you always think about, what am I going to eat? What am I going to eat? That means you've lost the ability to actually be yourself, that you actually not yourself. Why? Because you've already lost the battle if you lose the battle to think. And that's why when people manipulate you, first they manipulate your mind. First they put you in a place where you feel pressure, where you feel you can't even have a normal conversation, and then they have you. So let your thinking, because it's thinking that separates the doers from the non-doers, the successful from the failures. It's that thinking. And it's not that the successful don't fail. They fail multiple times and they succeed. But why? They get up and try again. They get up and go again. They never let that failure hold them. They never let that failure put them down. They never let that failure stop them from trying. And that's what separates them from the losers. So separate yourself. Kill that emotions that tells you are nothing. You cannot succeed. You cannot grow. Let that be your past. For whatever has happened to you in the past is in the past. You are a new beginning. Just like the Bible says, you are a new beginning. So you have the power to go places. You have the power to do something. You have the power to decide. It's on you. So decide today that you're going to contribute, you're going to participate, you're going to start, you're going to push, you're going to develop yourself, you're going to work on yourself, you're going to learn how to speak, how to write, how you're going to become the new you. Some people always say to you like a kid, like, look, don't worry about it. Like, you are fine where you are. You are okay with who you are. Why? Because going back to that same thing, when something happens to another person, the first thing you say, oh, look, there's probably a good reason it happens. Why? You are just consoling the person. The fact is, like, you are not okay where you are. Come on, look around you. You are not okay where you are. You know where you ought to be. You know who you admire. You know where you want to go to. But why? Maybe you're too scared. Maybe you're afraid. Maybe you think they will judge you wrong. But they always say we have more capacity in us to do more than we're actually doing. They say human beings only using 10% of their brain. Imagine what the other 99% could do if you actually try it and push yourself and discover yourself. And how do you discover yourself? Is through pushing yourself through the most difficult tasks, doing the things that are very uncomfortable for you. That's how you learn to grow. That's how you discover the new you. That's how you become who you are created to be. Through pushing, through surviving, through doing the impossible. When people say no, you stand up. When things knock you down like life would do, you bounce up multiple times and keep going, never throwing in the towel. And that's what makes you who you are.